The bride was still in curlers halfway through a mimosa when she tore open the envelope, expecting pearls or a heartfelt letter. Instead, her face drained to white as she pulled out court papers, bank affidavits, and a single handwritten note. "I hope it was worth it." She screamed his name so loud the guests in the chapel stopped talking, and the groom, my brother, stood frozen at the altar, drowning in sweat and silence. But what happened next will shock even those who thought they'd seen everything. But first, let's go back to the beginning. The silence in my chest was louder than any scream I could have managed. I sat on the edge of my bed that night, the bank statement still pulled up on my phone, the $0,000 staring back like a taunt. It didn't feel real. Not yet. There's a kind of numbness that settles in when the floor beneath you vanishes, when something you've counted on for years, something as solid as your future, is suddenly ripped away with no warning, no explanation that makes sense. It was like someone had reached into my chest and stolen not just money, but the years of sacrifice it represented. Because that's what it was. Years. The skipped dances. The summer jobs. The nights I stayed in editing essays while friends posted from bonfires and lakesides. I never resented it. Not once, because I believed in the plan. My mother's voice in my head, soft and certain, telling me I was going to do something meaningful. That college would be my stepping stone, that she'd made sure of it. And I believed her. I believed him too, back then. My father, with his solemn promise at her funeral, hand shaking as he signed the papers that would keep her last gift protected. That trust wasn't just a legal account. It was a bridge from the life I came from to the life I wanted. And now it was Caleb's way of proving he could play hero to his fiancée. I replayed the moment over and over, the way he said it, casual, like it was some reasonable, mature decision. Our future. He'd even laughed when he said it, like I was being dramatic, like education was some luxury I'd be fine without. He called it a maybe degree, as if my ambitions were fluff compared to a Tiffany ring and a rustic barn venue with mason jar centerpieces. As if he was entitled to my future because he had a ring in his pocket and a smug little plan. I thought about my mom that night, about the late hours she worked after her chemo sessions, clutching her scarf with one hand and her laptop with the other. She saved that money for me when she knew she wouldn't be there to see me walk across a stage. She believed I would. She sacrificed so much so I could. And Caleb? He believed Skylar would like a sapphire bracelet more. That was the moment I knew something inside me had broken, not in a fragile way, not like glass, more like a bone, fractured, yes, but ready to set stronger than before. They called me quiet, as if quiet meant passive, as if silence was the same thing as weakness. But silence, true silence, isn't empty. It listens. It collects. And when it breaks, it doesn't make a sound. It makes a reckoning. In the days after Caleb's betrayal, I didn't scream or sulk or throw plates like some dramatic sibling in a cable drama. No, I smiled. I nodded. I played my part with the precision of a surgeon. The same discipline that made me ace my AP courses and draft scholarship essays in my sleep was now redirected to something far more urgent. Justice, disguised as civility. Skylar, oblivious and perfectly manicured, squealed when I complimented her ring. "We picked it together," she beamed, as if her voice alone could pierce glass. I imagined the diamond she wore, a $6,300 princess-cut solitaire, I later found out, glistening with every sliver of my stolen education. Her hand fluttered toward me like a trophy, and I smiled as if it didn't make me want to retch. My father? He didn't even notice the change in me. He was too busy walking around like a man who'd fulfilled his parental duties, as if robbing one child to bless another was an act of balance. He muttered things about what made the most sense, and I nodded, helped him sort mailing labels for the invitations. Every time he looked away, I felt less like his daughter and more like a witness at a crime scene. But the real game began with a single name: Jill Monahan, my mother's estate attorney. A woman with a memory like a steel trap and a voice like dry ice. When I reached out, she remembered me instantly. Her tone didn't warm, not even a little, when I explained what Caleb had done. Instead, it chilled to something surgical. "It's a restricted educational trust," she said, clicking through old files. "He couldn't have accessed it legally, and your signature was required for any disbursement." It took her 2 hours to verify everything. In that time, I read over the trust documents she sent me 3 times. I memorized the clauses. I found the notary stamps. I highlighted the pages where my name, was circled in blue ink left there by my mother years before she passed. And then I stared at the signature Caleb had forged. It wasn't even close, sloppy, rushed, almost arrogant. By the time the lawyer submitted the formal complaint to the bank, something inside me had settled. Not calmed, settled. Like storm clouds gathering in a low-pressure sky. A quiet, inevitable shift in atmosphere. Because I wasn't just getting the money back. I was reclaiming every part of myself they thought they could take without consequence. The morning of the wedding dawned like any other summer Saturday. Humid, buzzing with cicadas, scented faintly with cut grass and fresh peonies. But for Skylar, it was the beginning of the end. I'd timed the delivery down to the minute. The envelope, unmarked, professional, innocuous, was handed to the hotel concierge with strict instructions. To be delivered to the bride's suite at exactly 10:30 a.m. That gave her enough time to still have mascara streaming when the first guests arrived. I knew her schedule. Hair by 8 o'clock, makeup by 9:15, champagne by 10 o'clock. It was the moment she'd feel invincible, surrounded by her bridesmaids in silk robes, faux crystal flutes in hand, cameras capturing the curated chaos of pre-ceremony bliss. She probably thought the envelope contained a sentimental letter or some rare family heirloom. Maybe she even imagined jewelry, one last grand gesture from the overlooked little sister, a diamond pendant to match the ring my college future had bought. Instead, she unfolded 20 pages of cold, dense, legally binding ruin. A cease and desist naming Caleb and my father. A court summons detailing pending civil action for misappropriation of trust funds. A notarized affidavit from the bank's fraud department outlining the forged signature and unauthorized withdrawals. And my note. Brief. Surgical. "Enjoy your big day. I hope it was worth it. Maddie." I'm told, she screamed. Not the kind of scream you'd expect from a startled bride, but a deep guttural eruption, the sound of vanity colliding headfirst with consequence. She burst out of the suite barefoot, rollers bouncing, lashes half glued, howling at Caleb loud enough that 2 flower girls cried. "You used me! You dragged me into your felony! Is this why your sister's been so calm?" Guests shifted uncomfortably in the pews of the lakeside chapel, fanning themselves with folded programs, pretending not to hear. The string quartet faltered, caught mid-intro to Pachelbel's canon. My father tried to manage the optics, talking about technical difficulties and family tensions, but the truth spread like a bloodstain on silk. And there was Caleb, standing near the altar in a tailored tux that no longer looked elegant but constrictive. His hands trembled as he scrolled through his phone, reading the documents again, disbelief slowly hardening into panic. He was cornered, not just by the law, but by the fact that every person he'd ever tried to impress was now watching him sweat, unravel, and rot under the pressure of his own entitlement. It was, in every way, the wedding gift I'd promised. Just not the kind that fit in a box. The courtroom was never dramatic. No thunderous gavel strikes, no gasps from the gallery, no last-minute confessions. Just paperwork, protocols, and Caleb's lawyer shifting uncomfortably under fluorescent lights. Justice didn't arrive with a roar. It arrived in certified envelopes and dry voices reading from manila folders. But I was there. Every time. I watched Caleb squirm in stiff suits he wasn't used to wearing unless someone was watching. I saw the fake confidence melt from his face as financial records were laid out like autopsy photos. The judge didn't need to say much. The documents spoke for themselves. My forged signature. My mother's clearly worded restrictions. The transfer receipts. Each one another nail. Eventually, the ruling came. Full restitution of the trust, plus penalties and a permanent fraud notation on his record. Not enough to send him to prison, but enough to slam every respectable job interview into a wall. Enough to etch a red flag into every background check. His clean image, polished for Skylar, embellished for LinkedIn, now carried a scar that couldn't be hidden with cologne and charm. Skylar vanished in record time. One day she was posting floral arrangements and monogrammed napkins. The next she was tagged in a photo back in Phoenix, holding her mother's lapdog in one arm and a pumpkin spice latte in the other. Her message to me was oddly casual, sprinkled with passive regret and thinly veiled resentment. She claimed innocence, which I believed. Skylar never wanted to rob me. She just wanted to be adored. She picked the wrong man for the job. As for my dad, his silence roared louder than any courtroom testimony. He didn't defend himself. He didn't apologize. When I left for college, duffel bag in one hand, housing assignment in the other, he stood on the porch like a statue carved from dust and old guilt. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He offered a nod, as if that lone gesture could smooth over what he allowed to happen. But I didn't need his words anymore. My name was on the university ledger. My tuition, paid. My classes, real. I found my name printed on a course syllabus and felt something loosen in my chest. I had rebuilt what they tried to take. And Caleb? He would carry the stain of what he did longer than any diploma could overshadow. He would explain it again and again in interviews, relationships, late-night thoughts he couldn't quiet, because revenge, when done right, doesn't scream. It whispers forever.